I think it's genius.
Hi, and welcome to the We Need a Vote podcast. I'm your host, Count Gregors, and look, guys, I'm not that old, but also I didn't want to be the guy who ate the rat. And I'm joined by a man who has definitely had a nickname for his daughter ruined by another film we're going to talk about in this episode. Don't worry, he did not name her Orlok. How's it going, David?
It's going all right, thank you, Neil. Yeah, I definitely can't. We'll get into it. I called her it when I came home, and it just felt wrong in so many ways.
Definitely. Do you mean Orlok or the name of the other film we're going to talk about?
The other film we're going to talk about.
And finally, our corruption of our third co-host continues unabated. We have made Marie go and see yet another horror film this time. So, Marie, did you succumb to the darkness as well?
Yeah, can I just say, I'm like hoping for a lot of credit here, because not only did I go see a horror movie, I went to see it on my own as well, late at night. Well, no, actually, it was during the day. There's no way I was going to see it at night. But still, I saw a horror movie on my own.
And it's a proper horror movie that had, jump scares in it.
Yes, yeah. And I saw it without a spoiler review. So you guys need to be proud of me. I went into this without a spoiler review.
Round of applause for Marie, David.
Well, no, I'm proud. I'm so proud.
In case you haven't guessed it yet, folks, today this is going to be a spoiler special for Robert Eggers' Nosferatu and, bizarrely, Halina Reijns' Babygirl, two films that on first glance could not be more different. One, a remake of a silent classic horror from over 100 years ago, and the other, an erotic thriller set in a modern-day workplace. But Marie has a thesis that they are basically the same film, which isn't as strange as you think once you get behind her reasoning. Later, she will show you her working. But first, dear listeners and viewers, before we get to Marie's thesis, we're going to review both films so you can ponder the questions as we talk through them, and then at the end of the podcast, she will wow us with her theory. No pressure.
Don't worry, I had weeks to prepare for this.
Weeks. And our first film of the year, for us in the UK at least, was Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. They came out on New Year's Day here and, of course, Christmas in the States. When did you get it in Portugal?
I think we got it like on the 5th.
5th.
So I saw it a couple of days later than you guys.
Not too shabby. So, from one of this generation's newest horror maestros, Robert Eggers, comes his remake of F.W. Murnau's 1922 Nosferatu, a symphony of horror, which itself was pretty much a rip-off of Bram Stoker's Dracula, the book, not the film, which came out in 1897. And a quick Google revealed that Nosferatu was indeed an unlicensed, shall we say, adaptation of Dracula, with only the character names and locations pretty much changed from Stoker's original. Even with the changes, Stoker's widow sued over copyright violation, and a court ruled all copies to be destroyed by staking, decapitation, and fire. No, I may have made up those last two. But thankfully, some survived, and it is now held up as a masterpiece of silent film and the horror genre. Now, over 100 years later, we finally get the long-awaited remake starring Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, the ancient vampire who wishes to buy a property in the German town of Visburg. And it's Nicholas Holt's Thomas Hutter who has to venture deep into the Transylvanian Carpathian Mountains to sign the deal with Orlok, which will guarantee his job and standing at the company, which is handy because he needs that to provide for his new wife Ellen, played by Lily Rose Depp. Though she tells him not to go, and, she's quite often struck by bouts of insomnia, melancholy, and impending doom. While Thomas is off having a whale of time in Transylvania, Ellen goes to stay with their friends Friedrich and Anna, played by Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Emma Corrin, and there are two adorable children who nothing bad will ever happen to. Right, guys?
Adorable? I found them fucking annoying, to be honest.
Oh, in that case, you're going to like where the film goes in. As Ellen's condition worsens, Friedrich gets Dr. Professor Alban Eberhard von Franz, that was hard to say, played gleefully by William Dafoe, to help out after his regular doctor, Wilhelm Sievers, played by Galactus himself, Ralph Ineson, can't figure out what's wrong and turns to von Franz's more extreme methods. Thomas manages to escape from Orlok's clutches and returns home, bringing with him death, lots of rats, and, of course, Count Orlok on his way to Visburg as well. So that's the broad strokes of the plot. Now, before we get into it, the one last thing I'd like to mention at the start is I'd like to quickly mention who the characters in Nosferatu are based on from Dracula, because it was fun. So obviously, Count Orlok is Dracula. Thomas Hutter is Jonathan Harker. So really didn't change it much there at all. Ellen is Mina Harker. Friedrich is Arthur Holmwood. And the first name is a tribute to the original Nosferatu director, F.W. Murnau, whose first name, I'm guessing, was Friedrich. Von Franz, Von Helsing. No, Von Franz, Van Helsing even. Not a Von, not a Van. Anna, Lucy, Westerner. Dr. Sievers, John Seward. Her Knock who I forgot to mention earlier. He's a dick who kind of sets the plan whole in motion because he is enthralled to Orlok, and he's also Thomas's boss at the law firm. He is basically, well, he is. It says on the thing I read that he's Renfield, which kind of makes sense because he's like the thing. And of course, it's funny because who starred in Renfield?
Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, Renfield's a bit different though because he's in the insane asylum, isn't he? And because
does
Not
end up
goes
there
into the
eventually.
insane asylum, yeah. But he
Also,
isn't the person that gives him the instructions. Yeah.
But also Nicholas Hoult.
Like
What's
you said,
Renfield?
just combined a couple of characters.
Yeah, just combine a few. Right, let's talk Nos. David, initial thoughts.
Well, when I saw the trailer for this, I knew I was going to like it. So when you go to the cinema, you know you're going to like something when you go to the cinema. And it didn't disappoint me. It doesn't mean I didn't think it was perfect, because I don't think it was perfect. I think there were some flaws in it. Although I do think it was a 5-star horror film for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was one of the best looking and best shot horror films. Probably the second best shot and looking horror film I can think of.
What's the first?
The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of The Shining, and the only reason The Shining won for me is because you can literally be walking about and be like, oh, that's The Shining. You could be having a wee in a toilet and think you're like, oh, that's The Shining's toilet. You know, like bathroom scene. You know what I mean?
So you don't take a walk in like foggy Folkestone down near the harbour
Yeah,
and
but
go,
no one,
oh, I'm in Visberg.
I'm not going to think. I'm never going to think that. I'm never going to think I'm in the set of Nosferatu. But you're constantly thinking that you're in the set of The Shining. Just in, it happens at least once.
I mean, you do have a red wall behind you.
See, it's spooky.
Is that blood?
I thought it was one of the best shot. Some of the acting in it was amazing. Some of it I didn't actually think was that great. But for the whole, I thought it was amazing. I thought Nicholas Holt's performances were amazing. I thought Lily Rose's depth was okay for what she brought to the table and for what we needed her to be. I thought Aaron Taylor-Johnson's wasn't great until his last scene. And then I was like, oh, that's amazing. He blew, and then I thought he was the best actor in it. We'll get into what I disliked about it later, but
okay,
let's keep it positive to start with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's too much negative to talk about it. Marie,
there was one massive negative for me, like a big one. It took me out of it. It took me out of it completely. Can I just say? Can I just say it now?
Well,
was it the penis?
It's the whole. No,
it wasn't the penis. It was to do with. I mean, it's not. It's related.
It's the whole reason I didn't like the movie, to be honest. Because
Spoiler.
Sorry, this did not work for me. Like, I went into this with like open mind because like some of my, even though I'm not a horror person, some of my all-time favorite movies are horror movies, like Alien and The Thing. Like, if a movie transcends genre for me, it's like really good. But this just did not work for me. I found it a bit way too long. I thought the best.
It was only about 2 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah, it still felt dragging for me. The best, like the cinematography and the costumes were brilliant. However, the best shots we already saw in the trailer. So there was like nothing new.
I disagree with that. I think they left some of the best shots for the film.
No, I mean the shot of her crying blood is longer in the trailer than it is in the movie.
The trailer was the first 5 minutes of the film, bar like 2 shots. I think it's about the first 5 minutes,
and like maybe also like the production photos, like because like for like previous episodes I like sourced some photos, so I like saw the shots. Like I just thought like the majority of the shots that was in the movie I already saw before. But the main reason this not worked for me is because of Nosferatu. The design fucking sucked, and you cannot call a movie Nosferatu and have Nosferatu suck. It just doesn't work. It's just. Like,
I love that you use the word "suck" as well. I feel like
pun intended. Pun intended.
It did not work.
And
it
sucks
for me.
because who does he look like, David?
I have the same issue, and it was the design of Count Orlok, and I just could. One of the first time we see him clearly, I immediately thought of Dr. Robotnik from the Sonic movies,
played by Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey with his stupid mustache, and he's just like in every scene he was in, he looked like Jim Carrey in Dr. Robotnik or the Eggman. I've never actually seen that film. I've never seen the film.
I've never seen Sonic. I just know
I still can get it out of my head though.
Yeah.
It just looked like him so much. And it just immediately wasn't scary. so that any scene he was in from then, it was actually a little bit funny.
Yep.
To
it's also really funny because all of us did not see this movie together, and we all had the exact same thought.
Just get rid of the mustache. Why does he need the mustache? He doesn't have a mustache in like the silent film. He looks he looks really ratty
in the silent film.
In the silent film, he looks like quite ratty, which I can understand at the time might not have been the best like designs, but yeah.
Apparently, because I actually listened to an interview with Robert Eggers today, and they brought up the mustache, obviously, in a much more polite way than we would have. And essentially, it was because in Dracula, so not Nosferatu, but in Dracula, he has a mustache. So he thought, and he wanted the idea of him to be more of like a ancient noble person as opposed to like a more creature-like. Because he said, when you see Matt Schreck in the original Nosferatu, what is he actually supposed to be? Because it's obviously, I mean, I say it's it's not short. It's like around an hour long, the original 1922 one. But in this, you needed a bit more. He couldn't just be scary looking guy. So he said he tried to kind of amalgamate
so the original design, he's very pale and he looks like a rat. That's
because it was black and white.
He looks like the plague. He looks like he is, like a bringer of the plague, similar to how this design did in his body. His body was like a rotting carcass. I thought that was amazing. But then you see his stupid little mustache.
Yeah. It's just also like the body itself just didn't make sense to me because like when you see him clothed, he's quite bulky. And then when you see him naked, he's like a skeleton. So even that just did not work for me because for me, like costuming, obviously given my background, is the first thing I zero in on. And
shoulder pads?
I mean, he is wearing furs, but he has to wear like a lot of fuck ton of furs to get that bulk. It just, again, did not make sense to me. And yeah, the mustache, just why? He's like doesn't have a single bit of hair on him all over, including his wooden stake. So why give him a mustache? I mean, a lot of people are like complimenting Bill Skarsgård's performance and saying like, oh, he's unrecognizable. But I think that's also the downside of it. Like, for example, if you look at Pennywise, you can still see like his silhouette underneath. And I think that is such an impact because he has quite a unique face in a good way. And the fact like anyone could have been under those prosthetics. It's just like I feel like you also need to work with the actor underneath to make something look less cartoonish. And yeah, this just didn't. It just looked And for me, the accent didn't work either. Yeah, for me. He sounded like Adam Sandler from Hotel Transylvania. Like that's also something I could only think of, and because like I don't know if you ever watched Hotel Transylvania, but there's like this running joke how Dracula sounds like because like there's this line, it's just like I don't sound like blah blah blah, and that's all I could think of every time he talked.
Did Adam Sandler have breathing difficulties as well in that film?
I'm not
sure.
He
probably will do in later life.
I'd like to think that Bill Skarsgård asked his dad for breathing help from his role as the Baron, where he's just like, like in every scene, he was like Darth Vader trying to breathe.
Well, interestingly enough, did you? I found out when I was doing a bit of research that Skarsgård, he actually auditioned for Thomas originally.
Ah.
So imagine him playing the Nicholas Hoult role. And like you say, because anyone could have played Nosferatu.
I really like Nicholas Hoult.
I do. I think like that was like the only thing that really worked for me is that like Nosferatu itself was not scary at all, but how the characters reacted to him, that was scary. Like you could see the fear on Nicholas Holtz's face. Like you can actually see him like wetting his pants being terrified of this creature. So that kind of like it worked for me a bit, but every time you saw his fear and then you saw what he was afraid of and then you're like, ah.
Their initial interaction in front of the fireplace, that whole scene, that whole because at that point we weren't actually seeing the whole design of Nosferatu. It was like little bits here and there. It was eyes, it was his shoulders, it was like and they were building up the reveal of him until they literally showed you the whole of him. That whole scene worked so well. And Nicholas
I agree.
In that because a lot of it was just on him. Like the camera.
So what you're saying is, David, they should have done a Jaws. They should have done a Jaws. Don't show the shark. Keep him in the shadows until if they kept him in the shadows till maybe the final scene, that would have probably worked better then.
I think the issue with it is
Detached. It's detached.
He's so like it's going off the silent film as well. Because he's not someone that just turns up in the final act. He's not a villain that just turns up in the final act. You know, he's in it. He's ever present throughout the entire film, and he's literally pulling the emotional strings, pulling the whole plot of the film the whole way. So it would have been difficult to have had him just completely, to have not really seen him at any point. I think just get rid of the bloody mustache.
Yeah, I think as I say in the last episode a lot. Moving on from the mustache. So I think
they had some good sex appeal though.
What? Don't you say it? No, I'm already seeing people thirsting over him, and I'm just like, what is wrong? Like when people think like, oh no, she actually loved him. I'm just like, no, just no. But to be honest, that does.
I can see the attraction there, though.
Oh Lord, David, I worry about you sometimes.
don't lie to yourself, Marie. You could see it.
No, I cannot fucking see it. Which honestly, actually, does like bring like a question that I had written down. Maybe David will be able to answer this, but maybe Neil and David aren't the right audience for this question. Would have this worked better if Nosferatu was hot?
Yeah, I think it would, because it's that traditional vampire thing of...
Exactly.
But then also I think Eggers is going for the more traditional creature vampires, the scary thing.
I don't think it would have worked better if he was hot.
If it just been Bill Skarsgård as Bill Skarsgård.
I think it was
maybe
more
not as
his
Bill
influence.
Skarsgård, but like...
I think it's his influence which is attractive. It's his presence. It's the power that he wields over like your mind and like your
his mind
desires and like what he can offer you, which is what's attractive, not necessarily what he looks like. And I think he was probably was he well endowed? I can't remember now. His little no. Well, you can cut that, Neil.
But I won't.
One of the most intimidating vampires out there is Lestat from Interview with a Vampire, and Lestat would have made Nosferatu his fucking bitch. I mean, like he is just so like commanding and scary, and like when he walks into a room, like you have that control, like everyone listening to you. I don't know, I just don't think that was translated very well for me in the movie.
I think the film's strength is, for me, like I say, we knew what we're getting with Eggers. You knew it was going to be visually amazing, and like me and David have said multiple times already in person, it was like each frame of the film is so good. It's a painting. You could hang most shots on the wall, except obviously the one with Nosferatu with his toddler
with the
mustache. Genuinely, 95% of the film, I think you could have as a screenshot and put it up somewhere, like print it out, put it on display on your walls. Like the only ones that won't work are like blackness, when it's black on screen. That's the only time. It's never beautiful.
And I would say the film is so dark, but you can actually see what's going on, which just shows you how well it was like lit and how great the cinematography was. And in fact, as we record this today, the BAFTAs were announced, and Nosferatu, I think, only got one nomination. But of course, it was for best cinematography.
Horror films always get snubbed, don't they?
Well, actually, The Substance got nominated for a shitload, and Hugh Grant got nominated for Heretic for best actor.
That's well deserved. I mean, he was amazing in that movie.
Well done, the BAFTAs for giving quite a nice little range of films and genres. But getting back to Nosferatu, let's talk Lily Rose Depp. Now, I think this is kind of coming out. I think, David, you're a little bit more down on her performance tonight. I've not really seen her on anything before this, I don't think. I think she started out in Yoga Hosers, a Kevin Smith film, because Johnny Depp did a little cameo in it, and then she was friends with Kevin Smith's daughter.
It's the only thing I know she went on to do.
And again, and the thing is, a lot of the things she's been in before this have not been very well reviewed, and a lot of people have said she's terrible in them. Really, like you want the one of the worst examples you can get of an episode. Oh, Johnny Depp's daughter. Oh yeah, let's make her a star. Give her own TV show on HBO, even though it sucked and it was terrible. But here, I think she proves she can actually act, and I think her, and again, in the interview I had with Eggers earlier, he was saying everyone said, oh, is all the contortion stuff done with wires? And he goes, no, it was all her. She literally had a movement coach to train so she could do all these like bits when she was possessed. And when she does get that possession kind of thing comes over her, she is really fucking good in it.
The seizure scene where she's having those seizures, that was really good.
And the bit they see in the trailer when she's on her knees.
Their welcome.
There's a lot of seizures. I mean, I was kind of on Aaron Taylor Johnson's side at that point. I was like, for fuck's sake, yeah, just chuck around the street.
Just get out of the house.
Again.
Just
Like,
get out.
tie her to the bed. I'm sick of this shit. Like,
Let's just go full exorcist on her. Give me a tall priest and a short priest. But I mean, I think, yeah, when she has in her bouts of mania, it's really well done. And like, she's the living embodiment of melancholy in this film. And her turns between despair, depression, and horniness are just like really well done. But I wonder if that performance is there because it was just Eggers is such a good director. Because everyone who works with Eggers always wants to work with him again. And that's the other story, that originally when this film was set up back years ago, as good as Lily Rose Depp is in this, a lot of people have said, yeah, but can you imagine Anya Taylor-Joy in a role? Who was originally, and apparently she was originally cast. But then obviously there was delays and she had to drop out because of scheduling conflicts. But another note I saw, that originally for Thomas, they were interested in, and this is, I can just see that, no, what are you thinking on all your faces when I mention this? Harry Styles.
to be honest, like, I'm not, I mean, like, he
He
was
has
fine
the
in
face.
Dunkirk.
Yeah,
He has, like, the Victorian
he
kind
has
of...
He
that
wasn't that
old
bad.
style looking facial features, doesn't he? Like, yeah.
And he wasn't that bad in Don't Worry Darling, which I kind of liked despite it getting killed everywhere.
Yeah. So I think like that could have worked. Like one thing, I think Lily Rose Depp and Nicholas Hoult do kind of look quite similar to each other. They could have played siblings as well, which I think also didn't really work for me. But I think she does a good job, and also like you have to like physicality is something that maybe only certain actors can bring it. I do think one of the main reasons she was cast is she can roll her eyes back to the back of her head, like
Like The Undertaker, if you're a wrestling fan.
But there was just like this one moment that really got me. It's the one with the flowers, where she was just like, "Why did you kill these flowers?" Just,
That's really early in the film, isn't it?
it's really early in the film, but I really like that moment. It also reminded me of Phoebe in Friends, that every time she gets flowers, she has to have a funeral for the flowers because they're dead.
All right, let's talk Nicholas Hoult. He was the lead, he was the male lead pretty much. He was in so much of this film, and not that I feel sorry for him because like he's obviously got a brilliant career, but he's missed out on so many so-called big roles. He was in the running for Superman. He lost out at the last minute to Pretty Much Unknown. Although he did get then cast as Lex Luthor. He was in the running for, I'm trying to think what the other big franchise was, and he lost out. Again, here, like you say, when they were talking about, Bill Skarsgård was originally auditioned for this part, I could only see Nicholas Hoult playing this part now. He's got that you need that thing of Britishness in it, but not too much. And like you say, some of the reviews I've read and heard, they were saying, we've never seen someone portray utter terror when he was in the castle so well as Holt did there. I mean, he should be up for an award for this. Like, they'll win all the indie awards probably, but the fact he wasn't nominated, he got like best supporting actor for this maybe.
The whole part of him on the lead up to even getting into the castle was really good. Like him just going into that little village thing where everything was really fucking weird going on, and they had the little ritual, just everything there, his performance or his confusion and his anxiety and his terror, like you mentioned, it all showed on his face because did he say anything during that entire scene?
Not really.
Not
really.
I need a room.
Like there wasn't a lot of dialogue there. It was all in the face, and it was all his actions and movements.
Eggers knows how to shoot the shit out of a little village, man.
I also want the coat that Holt wears in that scene. I really like that coat.
So, Aaron Taylor Johnson, David, you said So
at the beginning of most of his scenes, I thought was quite just understated. He was quite just like very up gentlemanly, like, there's nothing, and then that was sort of his performance. And I didn't think anything of it. At least he wasn't like one of the standout performances. And then when everything just
you can say it's a spoiler episode.
Someone's his children just get bled in front of him and killed, and then his wife gets killed, and then just everything that he's ever had disappears in the matter of a day. How his performance and grief was so good.
Do I remember rightly? There's a tiny bit of implied necrophiliac as well, Or did he pulls her out?
That did cross my mind as well. That I have to admit, I don't think it's ever confirmed, but yeah, certainly implied.
Yeah, I'm looking at my note and it says, so Aaron Taylor Johnson, I thought he was actually really good because he doesn't need to be, he's not there to be the standout though. He's there to be the supporting actor in this one. And like you say, David, he does it spot on because you're like, oh, he's the good friend. Oh, like his wife's good friends with Ellen. Well, Ellen's a real pain in the ass, isn't she? Oh, but they're doing a really good job of like looking after his friend's wife. Well, she's obviously going through a load of shit. And he just generally seems like an all-round good guy, and definitely not any kind of potential future necrophiliac.
I felt like it was because she was pregnant. That scene.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot that.
I mean, it does take him like an awful long time to accept that it's like Nosferatu or like a demon from beyond. And at that point there has been quite a lot of evidence. So it's just like, come on, dude, like open your eyes. This shit is weird.
I mean, had there been a lot of evidence? Like if you like think of that in real life, like if that was happening to you, and you're I mean, aside from her having her like spasm, like her fits of madness or whatever.
Well, there was her knock, wasn't there, who goes mental and like eats the rat, and then he's like in the mental home. And they're like, well, wait a minute, this isn't. So he knew about that, surely, didn't he?
And then
like,
there's the entire
occult
village
stuff
going crazy and overrun by rats. I mean, at that time, people were extremely more superstitious than science, like into science.
That's a good point. Yeah,
there was a lot more. Like,
yeah,
like from maybe our modern perspective, we're like, okay, maybe there's a scientific reason for this, but at that time, like, superstition.
It's like witches, burn a witch, demons.
Exactly. So it's like only to take him to the very end to realize. Also, I don't know why I found this so funny, but after the like that tragic funeral scene, all of them just packed in the carriage. I just found that shot so hilarious. It's just because they were like all squeezed into this little carriage and like plotting like murder, but I don't know. I just found that shot really funny. Maybe it was the top hats. It's just
top hats and murder playing in a carriage.
Yeah,
like a bunch of clowns going
over. It just like kind of reminded me like friends heading to a club or something.
The clubbing scene in Nosferatu. Oh yes. Now, David, when we mentioned the next character, you have become quite a big fan of her work, I would see. So, would you say Emma Corrin is your Rebecca Ferguson?
No, I wouldn't say she's my Rebecca Ferguson because I don't want to stalk her.
There is no stalking going on at all. Neil, I'm not even watching Silo at the minute. I'm bored of it. I've gone off it. It has fallen off a cliff.
Don't let Jose hear you
probably
say
have
that.
Context that Neil wants to stalk Rebecca Ferguson.
I do. You brought up the S word. You brought up the stalk word.
I'm not the one that's obsessed with her. Okay.
Jesus. Anyway,
I mean, you've managed to
Emma
bring
Corrin.
her into a podcast that's got nothing to do with her. I really liked her in this. I think when you mentioned Anna Taylor-Joy, I felt like it was Emma Corrin's character that she could have replaced more than Lily Rose Depp's. If like, as in like, she could have played her. But I really liked her performance in this.
Of course, now I'm thinking, would Emma Corrin have been a better choice for Ellen? And I'm thinking 100%. Give her the long hair. I can totally see it. She's a better actress. She just is. I don't know if she's... And although she's probably quite a bit older, she's got that kind of youthful look to her, isn't it? Like, I have no idea how old Emma Corrin is. And I think she's one of these people that could still play, someone in their early 20s, or she could conceivably be in her 40s.
How old is Emma Corrin?
I don't know. Tell us, David.
I'm going to Google it. Yes.
The next note, let me just say, the man, the myth, the legend, William Dafoe, having a ball as our Van Helsing substitute, Von Franz, who is a disgraced but brilliant doctor. I mean, if you've seen him in The Lighthouse with Vegas, then he's just so good. He's so good. I love like how William Dafoe is just, he's not the lead in as much stuff now, but he just turns up and everyone's like, oh, did you see William Dafoe in that? Because he was fucking brilliant. And because he always is. Also, did you know, and I'm sure David noticed, or you maybe don't, William Dafoe has actually played Count Orlok before. So there was a film in, I think, the early 2002 called Shadow of the Vampire, which was like a fictionalized account of the making of Nosferatu. And like the in-joke was that he was a real vampire. So he was, William Dafoe played Max Schreck, the actor, but also he actually was Nosferatu and was eating and killing the crew members. But it was a bit more like dramatic. So it wasn't really like What We Do in the Shadows. It was more like, oh no, this is a bit scary and fucked up. Are we going to die making this film? So yeah, there's another little like that's Nosferatu thing.
To be fair, like William Dafoe is one of those actors that's just done like he must have done
everything.
Way over 150 films at this point.
Oh,
like
easily.
He's just like he's just I think he's at that point in his career where he's IMDb list of films is going to be like
Oh.
scroll.
But one other thing, apparently, with the casting of Orlok, that's what I forgot earlier. Before Skarsgård auditioned and got the role, the two actors that Eggers originally wanted, I mean, one of them's retired, so that would have been a big thing. But Daniel Day-Lewis.
That would have been so good.
But how do you go method as Count Orlok, right?
Oh, he'd find a way. He'd find a way.
Let's go around biting his cast members. Okay, also, can we address the biting? I don't get the chest. Like, why would
I think that's where they do it in the I think that's where they do it in the silent film as well, in the chest.
Okay.
I think so.
But, I mean, I know the heart's there, but like the neck makes sense, it's the vein, and then like there's the wrist.
Yeah. I feel like it's harder to get a grip on the chest as well.
Yeah.
Like there's a nice bite. This is a good for you can get your mouth around there, but or, around your neck. But on
that
the chest,
had never occurred to me.
Grab on.
Okay.
It's hard. Who can remember the silent film out of the two of you?
I've never seen it. I've just seen like
photos.
It's on YouTube at the moment for free, and it is literally like an hour and like 10 minutes.
But that surprised me. It's that long for 1922. That's a long film for them.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. I loved how they obviously the homage they played to it, in the use of shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't.
That bit in the trailer, man. Yeah.
The horror techniques in 1920 were obviously not very built upon at this point. The scariest scene in it is probably when Nosferatu visits Nicholas Hoult in the castle, like in his room when he's hiding from him. So in this scene, it's like you see his hand come and he opens the door and he's standing there, isn't it? And so that scene in the silent film is probably the scariest scene in it, where he sort of just he visits him and he's standing there, and it is all a bit spookier. And the use of shadow, where like in the famous shot of the shadow, the silhouette going up the stairs to visit at the end of the film, and then how that's shown as the shadow going all like the tracking shot of that shadow going all the way along the walls, and you see his arm and even his hand and the influence that he's showing over the city as his hand just grows and grows and grows over the village. Sorry, that's all that how the use of shadow in the film and how Eggers just brought it in, and I thought it was so clever.
You guys are gonna hate me.
Did you not like it?
It got so repetitive. You could make such a good drinking game out of this movie. Drink every time there's a fucking shadow, and drink every time when there's a possession scene. If you'd have seen the silent film, you'd have appreciated it in a whole lot. That's what people have been telling me, that it's an homage to the silent film. But after a while, you have to consider that not everyone's seen the silent film or is that obsessed with the silent film. So
and it was over 100 years old.
Yeah. So after a while, it just got repetitive, and I think it just didn't also help because you knew who that hand belonged to. So as soon as you see the hand, you'll see the mustache.
David, right? You
just have the mustache there coming.
David, you can't get kids to watch films before the year 2000 now. That's a fact. There was a thing on Twitter where a film teacher was like, literally, I've got kids saying they won't watch any films in my class that were made before 2000 because they're too slow. And I'm like, so 1999, the year that gave us The Matrix, they gave us Fight Club. They gave us. You're saying these films are too old and slow now. How about not
They'd watch
slow?
the OG Spider-Man. They'd watch that. That's 2000, right?
That's way before.
1999 maybe.
I do hope that,
I think so.
Harry
that
Potter.
wasn't a reference
Come
to
on,
me.
they got to watch Harry Potter.
But
no, because
I feel like Neil was having an
proved.
attacking.
No, I've seen older movies. But it does remind me that one time in school, one of our teachers tried to show us The Never-Ending Story, which is a movie that I loved and grew up with, and all of my classmates
traumatized a generation.
Yes,
That horse, man.
The fucking horse. And anyway, but all of my classmates were like, "Oh, this is so old. What is this shit?" And I was just like, "Shut your fucking mouth, you incultured swine!" The Never-Ending Story. It's iconic.
And on that note, the other actor who they originally wanted to play Orlok, bringing it back around after Daniel Day-Lewis, who would have been awesome, Mads Mikkelsen, David. Mads Mikkelsen. Hannibal Lecter himself, the best Hannibal Lecter.
I'd prefer Daniel Day-Lewis out of the two. If you'd have given
but he's retired. He's retired. So
I know. But I mean, I don't think Bill Skarsgård did a bad job as Count. Well, it was just his design.
It's the design and the fact that like they didn't really work with him. Like, I mean, he did like he got his voice that low and stuff like that. He did like offer like quite a lot to the role, but it just
he did the work, but
exactly.
It would be interesting to know if they did anything on the sound design of his breathing, or whether that was his like techniques he did for that breathing.
No, it was all in the thing.
Smoked like 20 cigarettes right before a take.
No, he worked with a vocal coach, David. He worked with a vocal coach to lower his voice to those octaves down.
So
like, I think it was like
that's where it's impressive, and that's where his performance is impressive, because like you've mentioned Pennywise earlier and how they used some traits that he's able to do, like how he's able to float his eye in Pennywise, and they used that the fact that the actor can actually do that to make the character more scary. And they could have done something similar, maybe not that exact thing, because it would obviously have been too similar.
No, but I think you should, because he has very distinctive eyes. You should have used the eyes. Like, I think the eyes were also lost.
There was that one shot
prosthetic
of his eyes, wasn't there? That I can remember.
But then you could just see the mustache.
Just poke it up over there.
So, next thing I want to ask you, Marie, is how many of the jump scares got you? Bearing in mind you're not a horror fan.
I mean, to be honest,
there's that one right near the start, isn't there?
There's the one right at the start.
I'd admit that got me.
Did get me. It just did not help that my cinema forgot to close the door. So Snow White was like blasting in the background during that scene. So I was just sitting there already quite annoyed. And when the title came up, I just got up and shut the door, because I was just like, we can't like listen to we can't sit here in a horror movie and hear like background noises of the cinema.
Hi ho!
Yeah. But it was the trailer, and then Mufasa was there. It just wasn't working, and I could hear people talking. I was just like, for fuck's sake! So that one. But other than that, I don't think any of them got me.
Eggers isn't really, and this is, I think, one of the worries I had for the film before it came out, was that Eggers' stuff isn't always. It doesn't always grab you the first time you watch it. Like the first time I watched The Witch, I kind of was like, okay, it's building up, it's really good. And if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to give away the ending. But then the ending happens, and then I was like, huh. And then I didn't think about it for ages. And I watched it again when it came out on a special 4K DVD, and I watched it, and I was like, oh, this is fucking genius. This is so good. It's so good. And I had the same problem with The Lighthouse. I watched The Lighthouse 3 times before it finally clicked for me. The first time, I was so distracted and just couldn't concentrate on it, because I think it came out during COVID. So I was just watching it at home going, no, what? I know, yes, I can appreciate Pattinson and Defoe are amazing. They're really funny. Am I supposed to be laughing? I don't know. What's going on? I don't know. What is this film even? And then, for some reason, I went back to it and said, no, I'm going to give this another try. Because everyone says about how great it is. It's like a 5-star classic. I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to force myself. No phone in the room. And the second time, still didn't. I was like, okay, I get what they're doing. It is beautifully photographed.
You're just desperate to like it.
Yeah, I was.
Desperate to like it.
And I went back. I was like,
olives. I'll always have an olive. I fucking hate olives. But if they offer me olives, I'm going to eat them.
Third time, it just clicks. And it's like that moment when you're trying to figure out like a seeing eye puzzle, and you're like, there's a sailboat, I get it. And that's why it was like the third time I saw it, and I was like, right. Northman, I think, was probably his most standard film. Like it still had lots, it was still an Eggers film, but it felt more like a standard Hollywood film in that, it's just a standard revenge tale with but again, it was his first time doing loads of big action scenes, and it was really good, although he didn't do that well. I'm actually looking, I've got his standards here, and at the minute, Nosferatu is actually his biggest box office hit.
Biggest name, though, isn't it? It's the biggest. Like, it's already an established IP.
Well,
right? Is that the word?
No, it's only his
already
fourth
an
film.
Established name.
What, Nosferatu? No,
Nosferatu.
I don't think so.
I think so. I think the casting is what got people more interested. My cinema is usually empty, and it was quite a lot of people for Nosferatu, all couples though. So that was just interesting, just me by my lonesome.
Yeah, and I think Eggers is someone who's building his film catalogue, isn't it? And it's not getting worse, is it? Like every film.
No, he hasn't made a bad film.
Developing.
And I think out of all of like Eggers' films, also like when it comes to the trailers, I think the trailer was also the most appealing to people. Like the Northman, I haven't seen the Northman yet, but for me, like the Northman trailer was also epic. But I can see how that could turn away people, and then the Lighthouse, like there's like normal, like common, everyday cinema goers would probably like see the Lighthouse trailer and go no. But then Nosferatu, I think they would see the trailer and go, oh yeah, that looks interesting.
I can't actually remember the Lighthouse trailer, and I have no idea how you'd make a trailer out of that film.
Yeah, I can't actually off the top
I
of my
think
head because I saw it.
a lighthouse
I think it's
with
just-
the
that film's
ocean splashing
bonkers.
and then close-ups of Defoe and Pattinson. That was the Lighthouse.
I would say with Eggers, I think his films are very deliberately paced. They are slow. They are slow burners. But that's his style. So that's what worried me when this came out. I was like, is it going to find an audience, or people can go, no, it's slow? And I have seen comments from people who are dicks and have no taste going, oh, it's slow, it's boring, and nothing happens. No, it's brilliantly made.
Kind of
You
have
cannot
that
like.
feeling.
No, but you cannot like it for those reasons, and that's absolutely valid as well. Because at the end of the day, to make that big level, it's an interesting where he's in his career. Like me and David, we're big fans. We think everything he's done is superb, but his films haven't made money until this. And it's funny because when he made The Northman, at that point, that was the biggest budget he'd ever worked with, and he was saying, "Oh, the studio interference. They want this, they want that," and he said, "I'd never want to do a film on this big scale again." So then he goes and does Nosferatu next, which has now become his biggest hit. So yeah, looking at his box office stats, day of recording, Nosferatu has made 135 million worldwide on a budget of 50 million. So it's done it. The Witch only made 40 million, but again, I don't know how much that cost, but it definitely wasn't.
It wouldn't have been much. It's a one set,
one set,
location,
3 or 4 actors. The Lighthouse only made 18 million, and I'm not surprised by that because I'm surprised it made that much because it's a really fucking hard sell, that film, and hard for us to watch. And The Northman actually made almost 70 million, but I think it's against the budget it cost. And of course, The Northman was gutted by COVID because they started filming it.
Cost? Sorry,
I don't know how much it cost. I couldn't find that, and I didn't look for it. Well, I didn't look for it. I could have found it, but I didn't have time. To its budget, The Northman, although it made the most of any of his ones up until this point, its budget was still a lot more in terms of what it would do. So I think we're drawing to the end on drawing a shadow, shall we say, over our Nosferatu review. Final thoughts. I think I really enjoyed it, and I will need a rewatch later in the year to see how high it will be on my top films of the year list. David?
I've given it 5 stars. I will rewatch it again, not to see if it will be higher on my list, because I'd imagine it will be on my list, but just to watch it again, because I really enjoyed it.
And usually this is where I'd mock you, Dave, and say, because you'll be lucky to see 10 films this year, but you've got a card, and you probably will have done half those films by the end of January.
I've got 4 films under my belt already. I don't know what you're chatting
Boom.
about.
Also, just to let you know, Nosferatu is out on digital release at the end of the month already. The 21st of January I've got here. So it's probably out already.
Is that one of those, like, buy it at home?
Buy it at home
like,
things.
Yeah. Okay.
So again, people who don't go to cinema, recently Wicked just came out on that, and it's added an absolute shit ton of money from people who didn't want to go to cinema to see it and just wanted to watch it at home. So it's proof that now it's not actually killing cinema doing these things, but you need a bit of a longer window. You know, that was what, about a month and a half from Wicked in the cinema to being on digital.
You can still see it, I think. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
it's
sure
still in
our
cinema.
locals still.
Yeah,
show it.
same here. Yeah, right. Marie, final thoughts on Nosferatu?
I thought you were going to skip me.
It did cross my mind. No.
No, I think I gave it like 3 stars. I'm not sure. I'm like, when I saw it's getting released in digital soon, I thought maybe, but I'm not sure if I'm ever going to rewatch this again. I just think you cannot call a movie Nosferatu and have your Nosferatu suck. It just did not work for me. And I'm a massive vampire fan. So it's like, but like Laszlo Cravensworth could have beaten Nosferatu's ass. Like, it was not like, it's just, he needed to be good for this to work for me.
And most definitely Nandor the Relentless as well.
Because he never relents.
Exactly. He doesn't relent, David. Never.
But he also sounded a bit like Nadia. That's why it didn't work for me. It's just like, it's like, again, her just like, he's just doing a generic Eastern European accent. It's just like that line kept going through my head.
Apparently, he's doing a dead language of ancient Romanian that they literally had to get some professor to teach him. So you're like, I understand that, and you've put the work in, but then also, just because you've put the work in, you don't necessarily have to use it.
Yeah.
if it's not working.
And also because like they're German, but they're all talking in a British accent, so I think it may have
I
would
knew
just
that was going to be the
worked.
first. Actually, I'm surprised you haven't mentioned that before. I was like, yep.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't given me the opportunity, but yeah, you know how I am with accents. So I was just like, it would have maybe worked better if you also had an English accent because we're already in that realm of delusion.
Well, moving on. Next, grab your glass of milk, David, because it's time to review Halina Reijns' Babygirl. Another film that used an anti-Christmas Christmas marketing campaign to tell us, get what you want this Christmas. But of course, just like Nosferatu, we got it after Christmas in the UK, and I'm assuming in Portugal as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. But before then, you guys this time. Weirdly.
Okay, don't rub it in. So, what is Babygirl? Well, it's a newish spin on the old-fashioned erotic thriller of the 1990s, where Nicole Kidman's high-powered CEO, Romy Mathis, has an affair with young intern Samuel, played by man at the moment, Harris Dickinson. As their relationship begins, a weird power dynamic develops between the two of them, with the younger, more brash Samuel setting the rules for their relationship, explaining he could get her fired with one phone call, and from here he continues to press her boundaries again and again until they, well, fall out. From here, Romy gets more and more obsessed with Samuel, who also has now begun seeing one of Romy's staff, Esme, played by Talk to Me's Sophie Wilde. I didn't realise that was her, David. Her assistant is the girl from Talk to Me.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that afterwards. When Esme finds out about the affair, she uses it to infer blackmail on Romy. At this point, Romy's, she's had enough. She confesses the affair to her husband, Jacob, a really good Antonio Banderas, who immediately, as you would, throws her out to live in their other house, which obviously, throw her out, understand, to their other house, which, of course, we all have other houses, except we don't.
You're CEO of a company, man. You got another house.
Yeah, you got another house or two. I actually thought originally it was just down at the end of the garden. I didn't realize it was somewhere completely different. I was like, oh, it's like
it was. It
outhouse.
wasn't clear to me either, that it was a whole different location.
But anyway, so she's at a little house out in the middle of nowhere, and of course, Samuel turns up there as well because he's just turning up all places he's not wanted. And then Jacob turns up as well, and I was like, oh, here we go. It's going to be your standard kind of, is someone going to die? Is there going to be a fight? Well, Jacob, he has a panic attack. But I actually thought he was having a heart attack then. And I thought, oh, that's how it's going to be. It's going to be like this. He's going to die, and then they're going to feel really shit about it. And instead, the film went in a completely different direction, and Samuel helps him through it. And there's almost like this weird moment of realization for him there, and he just leaves. And afterwards, Romy and Jacob then rekindle their relationship while Samuel takes a job in Japan. And the final scene sees this board member be like a creepy prick to Romy once again. And instead of kind of deflecting it and like ignoring it like she did at the start of the film, here she basically tells him to fuck off. So I was like, oh, so is that her character arc? That's where she's grown from that to that. Okay, that's apparently how you want to end the film. So, yes. Oh, Jesus, David, of course. Of course.
Perfect timing.
And of course, our Babygirl review is brought to you by David's Glass of Milk. Good girl, David. Good girl. Right. Initial thoughts, Marie.
Also did not work for me. I really did like the first half hour of this movie. And then I think it kind of lacks the second their relationship started, when things are supposed to get more intense and really good, it kind of dropped off for me and it just did not pick up momentum. I think it falls into that trap where it tries to say a lot, but then doesn't end up saying anything at all. Somewhere in here was a good movie. It just did not deliver. It just needed a better script for the story to work.
Oh, yeah, I agree with a fair amount of that. David.
Yeah, I agree as well with a fair amount of that. I think that she nailed it on the head by saying it was trying to say something, but fell short of getting there.
So moving on from that then, my next question is it better than 50 Shades of Grey?
I mean, a lot of things are.
I've not
to
seen
be fair,
it.
root canal surgery is better than that. Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen 50 Shades.
I haven't actually, no.
No, and the only sections of the book I've read as that at parties is when you play the 50 Shades drinking game where you have to read a passage of the book and you can't laugh. It's really hard after a few shots.
One of the biggest issues I had with this film was that the entire plot of the film could have been solved by just basic communication between a husband and wife.
Agreed.
Over 19 years. Just basic communication. The sex life, that it wasn't a bad sex life. They were having, from what we saw, they were having consistent sex weekly. So their sex lives were good. They had a healthy sex, but there was something that wasn't healthy about their sexual relationship, and that literally can be solved from a conversation between the two of them, and then the willingness to explore what each other like and don't like. And that's something that really should have happened very early on in their relationship.
Yeah, before they got married.
Way before they got married, before they had kids, like the first year of them seeing each other, that should have been sorted, really.
I completely agree.
Unless this is something that was built up over years and years and years within her because of maybe she climbed the ranks in her business.
But then that wasn't conveyed, was it?
But it wasn't conveyed, and she also mentioned it that this was from always, like she was always like this. Yeah, and it's like I get like it takes time to realize what you like, but 19 years after this was also like my overall review where I was like, couple therapy exists. Use it, people, because if they just saw a relationship therapist, this could have been solved. And I also think of that. It didn't also work that she did mention that she saw a therapist, like when she was like explaining it to her husband. Like she's like, "Oh, I tried seeing a therapist about this," but I'm like, well, clearly it wasn't a good therapist because it didn't tell you to like communicate these issues with your husband. Like it's just like, so I thought it was weird that therapy got mentioned because it would have solved everything. Like I'm a huge fan of therapy. Do therapy, people.
Is this kind of a true BDSM film? Because usually you've got one person who knows the rules and explains them to the new willing partner. But there was another review I heard. I forget where it was now. But they said what actually worked for them in the film was neither of them seem to know what they're doing, which actually makes it kind of more interesting. Oh no, that was on stage in London last Friday night when I was at the Empire podcast, and Harris Dickinson was on stage as a guest talking about the film. And cue picture.
It's like a teenage couple exploring their sexuality again. You know, from in that respect. And what each other's likes and don't like, and what's acceptable and not acceptable in that relationship. I don't think there is a typical BDSM relationship.
No, it's definitely
I think
not.
It's a whole
spectrum
world of different things, and people will like different aspects of it, and on whatever that's out there for you to enjoy or not. So I don't think there is a way you can typically show it on screen. It's more how it was shown in
real life. Yeah, definitely. But I think in cinema, it's such a subject that they don't even really touch it that often in bigger films. I mean, this is still quite a small film relatively. It's just obviously it's got more notice because of who the actors are in it. It's actually the director as well, Halina Reijns. She actually was an actress for quite a few years first. And to be honest, I sadly hadn't heard of her as an actress. But her first, and I think she's Dutch, and her first English language film was only a couple of years ago, and I hated it. I remember thinking it was utter crap, and it was Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Yeah, she directed that, didn't she?
Yeah, that was her previous film.
Yeah.
So how you go from that to this? It's like tonal whiplash, because that was like a really teenage based horror comedy, and then this is like relationship drama, erotic thriller. I mean, I read some stuff today, and she did say that she was a fan, the director, of like the 90s style erotic thrillers, like Indecent Proposal, like Basic Instinct. But I'd argue this film doesn't even get close to either of those, because those films build up to the melodrama, and there's always a big. Nothing really happened here.
That's the thing. That's what really bothered me about it. It was missing the thriller part. It was missing that tension. Like, you kind of had it in the beginning, but then it lost it. And for this movie to work, you need that tension. You need that suspense. And it just didn't have it.
I thought it was going to come when she arrives home and he's with me. Sorry. But when she arrived home and he was sitting with the family, and I thought there was going to be a layer attached to the control there that she wasn't comfortable with, and I thought they were going to play on that, and he was going to continue to go further and further and further into what.
Well, he does until she kind of.
Yeah, but not really though.
Really.
No, there's not that inciting incident, is there? That makes her.
I think you said in the synopsis of the film that he blackmailed her, but that blackmail wasn't. No. It wasn't blackmail. He didn't do it.
Wasn't.
It was
no. Well, it's inferred, isn't it? It's very subtle. It's.
Yeah, but that was a seduction technique.
It wasn't
really.
I agree with
blackmail.
David. It's just like you never really thought, like there was any actual danger, if that
Yeah,
makes sense. Like,
yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
It
like,
There's
felt
type
like
of
he
film
didn't
it
have
is.
a bad bone in the guy's body, really.
Exactly.
He was just having fun. He was just wanted to, he was just having sex.
yeah, with
For
Nicole
him,
Kidman, which fair
Yeah.
enough, but still, it's just like, and I don't think he needed to be a bad guy. That's not. It's just like in those scenarios, he needed to be more dominant and he needed to be controlling, and you like didn't work. She just crawled around and drank milk from a bowl. Like, I don't. She just also looked miserable throughout all of it. Like, even like when she's getting what she wants, like that, which is the tagline of the movie, she still looked unhappy. It's just
Yeah.
it's just also did not work. Like, it's like, so it's
There's a band I love from Northern Ireland called Therapy, and they got a song called Punishment Love, and literally one of the lyrics in the song is "You never make love with a smile on your face," and it's like that literally just sums up like that film. I mean, I think Kidman, like getting onto her, she's always really good. Like she's really good in this as well. And there was outside talk of her for like an awards nominations for it. And I think in another year maybe. I definitely not going to be this year. And in fact, like I think Babygirl, it got absolutely nothing at the BAFTAs today. I don't believe, and arguably it isn't that good.
I think it'd have to be a weak year, to be fair.
yeah.
I
The
didn't. Yeah.
majority of the movie is just her whispering. Like, all the dialogue is whispered in this movie, and that like gets really annoying after a while. Like,
However, I will say with Nicole Kidman, she does follow my standard of theory of Australians, where if you're trying to figure out how old someone is, if they're Australian, you need to knock another 10 years off their age, and you're still probably not close, because for some reason, they just really age well in Australia, man.
How old is she then?
I think she's like 56, 57, somewhere around that. But again, but I think I know that from Googling it recently. If you had said, oh, she's like in her late 50s, and you'd be surprised. You go, really? But then she's been around that long, but she's also that good. It's a funny joke about like the Botox in it. She's like, why do you do this? Or someone, is her daughter says to her, why do you do this? Or something like that. Oh, shout out, her eldest daughter, played by Esther McGregor. I thought she was really good, because I was like, oh, she's got a gay teenage daughter, and that's actually normalized in a relationship on screen. That wasn't a problem for the parent. I was like, we're actually making slow bits of progress here in mainstream films, you know. Well, I mean, as mainstream as this film is, really. And I loved that her daughter seemed to be better at handling relationships than her mum was. And then later on, when her mum's been chucked out and she's there crying on the couch, her daughter comes in and was like, yeah, we're just checking in. It was like, the daughter has become the mum here. And so I thought that was a really good performance.
I thought her performance was excellent as well. I didn't like how they simplified the marriage to the daughter just having fun a little bit as well, and now they made that there's the obvious connection that they made, and I didn't like how they simplified the marriage in that way, because the marriage is just there was a lot more going on. It was a lot more complicated than simply I do love her, but I'm also having a bit of fun over here. You know, it's not as sort of simple as that.
I mean, one of my favourite scenes in the film is actually the utter sadness and cringe of when she turns up to the bar he's working in and she just gets chucked out straight away. That was agonisingly painful to watch. In like a good way. You're like, oh, it's done really well.
Dude was a grafter. He had like multiple jobs. He was working really like, you know, and he had like the whole like sex. He was dating the assistant. He had her. Like,
that was his regular relationship.
Yeah. Man, when he got any spare time to himself.
That is a good point.
Yeah, he was an unpaid intern at a massive company. He was working at a bar,
and
he had
paid.
Two relationships on the go.
He was paid. They made sure to mention that.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. So the one film that people have kind of mentioned this too, but I don't think it's nowhere near as good as. There is a Steven Shainberg 2002 erotic drama called Secretary, which was an early Maggie Gyllenhaal film, and also starred James Spader. And she's like a troubled woman who's been in and out of homes, and she starts as a secretary for his lawyer character. And they start a BDSM. Is that right? BDSM. BDSM. So they start a BDSM relationship with her boss. You just left me hanging, you utter bastards. Although it was really conventional in the male-female dynamic in that one. And Babygirl, they kind of switched it. So, and again, this is a question they actually asked at the podcast when they were reviewing the film and talking about it with Harris Dickinson. And it's like, could the film work the other way around without it being massively creepily and problematic? Like, you couldn't have, like, you know, the successful CEO bloke with the young female intern and they start a relationship and then she friends him. But then again, that is the tropes we understand and expect from the erotic thriller thing. We didn't see, you never got that film in the 80s or 90s where it was a man in that position. This is literally probably the first film I mean, I'm sure there's been some real like B movies out over the last sort of 15, 20 years that have done it, but we just haven't heard of them. So this is probably the biggest scale one that we've had because it is Nicole Kidman starring it. Also, does she get away with it to a certain point? Or, does an audience not mind her doing this as much because it's Nicole Kidman?
Yeah, I don't know. I generally don't. I think also the movie did not know. Like the
No.
movie like did not know like show if we were meant to be on her side or if we weren't meant to be on her side. I don't just that's the thing. It's just like it didn't say anything. Like and just leaving it to the audience. I mean like things can be left to interpretation. But it was just like it just did not commit to a narrative in my opinion. And like it's just like you also mentioned like the Botox scene. It's just like I don't understand why that was in it. Like once again, it just yeah, touched about aging. It also had like the younger female colleague replacing her in the end, but that's again well done way better in the substance. So it's like it tried to touch on all these different points and you're just like okay, but try just saying one thing.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I think he summed it up best when he said it's an erotic thriller, but they forgot to put the thriller part in.
the thrill and to be honest, the erotic part as well.
It depends what you're into, I suppose.
David, no one looked like they were enjoying himself in that film.
Say
The
what
dog,
you say
the dog was
about
having
50
fun.
Shades of Grey, but at least
The dog was having fun.
the dog
He was there. He had a
having fun.
cookie.
Yeah.
And just in case we didn't get the metaphor with the dog, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was.
They
I
showed
read
it also
something.
in the end where it's just like, was the dog part of her imagination? Like, that's another thing I was like, is
Or is
like
it his
her
imagination?
He like
Does he think
tamed
she's
the
a
dog,
dog?
didn't he? And no, because he like tamed the dog, and she was
At
just
the
wanted
start.
to be tamed. Like
exactly
throughout
Yeah.
the whole,
Like,
like she just wanted that.
it wasn't a subtle scene with the dog,
Yeah.
but then again, it's just like it was so like it wasn't a subtle scene with the dog, but then it still did not translate because like every time like he tried to like tame her, she's like, no, I don't want this. Like I mean, as I said, that's like somewhere in here it's a good movie because I do get the concept like when you
Yeah.
control everything in your life, you want to be controlled yourself. It's like we shouldn't compare this to 50 Shades, but it's because it's like I mean, it's way better and it's like two different stories but to be honest, something never made sense that what's the guy's name in 50 Shades?
I just know it's
Dorian
Jamie
Gray.
Dornan.
Dorian Gray. Is it
Great.
Dorian?
I haven't seen the film or read the book, but I
That's
know that for some
Dorian
reason.
Gray.
I'm pretty sure it's
classic
Dorian Gray. Yeah,
No, David. Dorian Gray.
is it? I don't know. It's
No,
Gray.
it's
The
not-
classic
but
literature. The classic
Yeah,
book, Dorian
I
Gray.
think that's why are we missing it? I'm mixing it up because he's called Jamie Dornan in real life. Wait, I'm
Let's
just
just say Jamie
maybe.
Dornan.
yeah. That's what so his last name is Gray, but
Well, yeah, because 50 Shades of Grey, but it can't be
Christian.
Dorian.
It's Christian.
Gray. Okay.
That's it.
But to be honest,
I was
like,
close.
yeah, we were.
No, you
close.
named a 19th century book, David.
Anyway, like with the 50 Shades, it would have made more sense to me if Christian Grey was a submissive rather than a dominant because he is that CEO type character, and I thought this was that, but it wasn't, and I like, yeah, it just complete. It was a complete anticlimax for me. Let's just say.
My favorite scene in the film though was when the husband sort of confronts him. He's there, and the husband.
So that didn't go how you think, did it?
I really liked that scene. It reminded the little fight that they had reminded me a little bit of like the fight that's in British Jones' Diary.
Oh yeah,
like where it's just complete like how people would actually fight, which is just stupid. And then just the conversations that they're having, and it's and the panic attack, and
but
I
even
really
that
liked
conversation where like Antonio,
There was no big realization, was there?
Antonio Banderas says something where he's like, "Oh, like women being controlled is just like a
he got the wrong end of it,
misogynistic viewpoint," and then he corrects them, and it's like, "No, it's not." But then they didn't lean into it anymore. Like they didn't because it is a point. It is like S&M is not just a male fantasy. Like it is also like female women can have kinks too. The moral of the We Needed
The film
Rose
probably
podcast.
should have been.
But my PSA there. But again, they did not expand on that. Like he kind of puts him on his place, and like, but it not completely shattering his worldview. It's just like once again, it's just like a little rewrite. Like you had something there, you just didn't follow through.
It was so close because he got the wrong end of the stick, didn't he? And then he sort of corrected him, and as it was like a generational thing, that they were aiming at, and it was just wasn't. It didn't land again.
Yeah.
But I did like that scene of him finding out. I thought the acting there, like his performance there, was really good.
One thing we pointed out when we did our quick instant review that you can see on YouTube straight after we did it, David, after we saw the film, was the nightclub scene.
Oh, that was horrific. Not the scene. The scene was fine. It's just actual. If a nightclub's like that now.
Yes.
Oh my god.
It like when I saw it,
I couldn't think of anything worse.
Yeah, I was just like, I do not miss clubbing at all. Like it's just really, I haven't been to a club since 2020, and it's not going to change. Like
nightclubs in my day were not like that.
Yeah,
like when I was clubbing, it was like there was dancing, but it wasn't like a mass, like everyone crammed in like a sweat box, and like, oh no, thank you.
Yeah.
Although that said, I did like the music in the film, and there was a lot of places where it was their breath, and I think this is something they mentioned on stage at the thing the other week. Cue photo from Neil took at the event. But yeah, they took hers and his breaths and used it to make like the music in it as well, points, which was kind of cool. And like I said, I think it was really well shot. I really liked the music. But yeah, it didn't say anything, did it?
I have to say the breath thing was kind of ruined for me for Rivals, because Rivals had that as well in its opening theme song, where it was basically orgasm noises, and then throughout the show you get that as well. So every time I heard that, I was just like, oh, fucking Rivals. The trauma came back.
One thing that annoyed me that again I mentioned in our little review, Neil, was it seemed like some of the shots just went in and out of focus for no reason. And I originally thought, oh, it's because it's showing like her going in and out of focus of what she wants, what her desires aren't in focus, that sort of thing. So I thought they were being clever with it. But then it was happening to other characters.
Oh, okay.
And then I just thought, well, did they just leave the auto? Like, did they just leave the autofocus on or something?
Definitely didn't leave
in and out of focus.
It's definitely a stylistic choice, David.
It just didn't feel right. It just didn't. It annoyed me when I was watching it.
It probably is what you said in the first place, I think. But yeah, it doesn't make sense.
But it happened to just other shots and for other people. Yeah. And
I just wanted to say something else that like stood out to me, but then they did not quite follow through, because like I generally thought Nicole Kidman's hair throughout it was also like a very intentional choice. The way that it's half up, half down. So like she's half controlling it, but she wants to hang it loose. And I thought that would translate by her just like figuratively letting her hair down by the final scene, but she didn't. And it's just like, oh, like I was just like, oh, I like, because like as again the first half an hour I was just like, oh, I like that like choice for a character design, but then again they did not follow through with it. Yeah. So I thought it was just like, oh, maybe they just think that frames Nicole Kidman's face like that, which
did the husband finally get that orgasm out of her? Not him.
I mean, I guess that's how the ending was implying.
Right? That's how it ends, and I think
it was implied though. It wasn't like because she'd been faking it the entire marriage.
Yeah, 19 years.
Was it a different?
It's on you for if you haven't been satisfied for 19 years. Like you have to say something. Like don't marry someone in that situation.
Yeah, she got that he got that orgasm.
He did. I mean, that's the only like proper spoilers we can say in this.
Because there's not really anything else to spoil.
Nothing else. Yeah.
No, there's nothing else to spoil. Like,
except it's just a perfectly fine, very well acted, well shot, but story lets it down. Script lets it down.
I also did not think they had very good chemistry, to be honest. I think the chemistry between the two leads also fell flat for me.
It's weird because if you get around to watching A Murder at the End of the World on Disney Plus, it's a Icelandic murder crime show, but it stars Emma Corrin and Harris Dickinson as a couple. And the chemistry there is off the charts. When you see him in that, with her in that, you're like, I totally buy the relationship. And it's really well done. And I've seen him, Triangle of Sadness, he was brilliant in that. So you can see why they would cast him in this. But yeah, he was a lot more muted in this than I'd expect. You expect him to be brashier and cockier and all that. And I felt they were trying to be too subtle and trying to do too much. And by doing that, they didn't actually achieve anything, really, that they wanted to do. And just made a quite staid, normal thriller without frills.
Talking on sexiness of Nosferatu, was our lead in this sexy enough?
The father figure scene.
Like him, I don't know. I mean, I do have a weakness for tattoos. I do have to say that.
So you liked him with his shirt off, then? Yeah.
So yes, I can, but it's like I don't think because it was more of a physicality, it was his personality that drew her in.
Yeah. So it's similar. It's quite similar. I mean, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into
Yeah,
it.
this is a perfect
And
transition.
I think, and that brings us to, as we are nearing the end of the episode, Marie, it is now time to dazzle us and our audience, you listener, you viewers, with your theory on why Babygirl and Nosferatu are the same film. The stage is yours.
Yeah, because like the only reason we grouped these two movies together at first because these were the first two movies of the year, so we thought we'll do it. And I thought it was interesting because I saw Babygirl first and then Nosferatu, and you guys did it the other way around. But yeah, when I left Nosferatu, I was just like, first I was thinking about it, I was just like, those two movies had the exact same ending. But like the more I thought about it, I was just like, hang on, they're the same movie. A woman dissatisfied in her marriage seeks pleasures elsewhere. That can be the plot of both movies. But also they both start with excessive panting and moaning. And like they both have the two female leads reaching nirvana before the title sequence comes out. So they have the exact same beginning. And yeah, and then the ending is woman returns to her former lover and finally reaches like a sexual climax. Like it's again the same concept, only with Nosferatu you throw in rats and vampires.
I mean, in Nosferatu, she dies.
Yeah.
Potato.
Yeah.
But actually, that was my one note that I didn't mention from Nosferatu is Ellen that good in bed that literally Orlok forgets he has to get back to his Earth before the sun comes up.
I mean, that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Like...
So that's what it was. She was that intoxicating to him that he's like, oh shit, I'm gonna burn to a crisp now. Bollocks.
But he doesn't burn to a crisp. That's another thing. Back to
Nosferatu. Yeah, he doesn't.
He doesn't. That's another thing that bothered me about Nosferatu. The laws of vampires weren't consistent.
In the silent film, it just cuts to a puff of smoke. Like a tiny, it's not even like, it's just like a tiny wisp of smoke. It looks really stupid. Just watch that clip of the original like silent film, and then it's really funny.
Yeah, but also ends with both female leads in bed as well. So it's like shot for shot, exact same.
There you have it. Indie cinemas around the world. This year's double bill is Nosferatu and Babygirl. Which order should we watch them in?
I just love the fact that like it's the same, like never being satisfied by one man. So you go like you've had that satisfaction. Like you never satisfied me like he can satisfy me. Yeah. That line that Lily Rose Depp says, that's the synopsis of both films.
It is
basically. Yeah, I think it's genius, Marie.
Yeah,
they're the same movie.
We'll expect the book soon.
If Nosferatu had tattoos rather than a mustache, like it may have worked even better.
Oh, you'd have been there then.
What if we switched it round? What if we had Harris Dickinson as Nosferatu?
I'm not sure. He's quite short.
No, he's tall.
He's
really tall in person. He is one lanky man.
Oh,
I was surprised at how tall he is.
I was say, he looks really tall in the film as well. Yeah,
really, I thought I got short boy energy from him, but
I think Nicole Kidman's not that small, is she? She's got tall.
Yeah,
tall,
maybe that's why
they grow them tall in Australia. Yeah. Okay, well, after that stunning thesis on why they are the same film, that is all the time we have today on the We Need Roads podcast in our Nosferatu and our baby Nosferatu girl spoiler special. Now, we have so much in the works this year, dear listeners and viewers. And on an upcoming episode, we're hopefully going to be talking... Well, Marie, you're hopefully going to be talking Better Man and A Real Pain. I'll be talking more vampire stuff in Castlevania, because I have mainlined all of it on Netflix in the last couple of weeks. And also, whatever secret screening is going to be coming up that I have at the cinema very soon. However... by now, we will have known whether it was Flight Risk and I walked out because no Mel Gibson, no Mark Wahlberg B movies. I wouldn't even watch if it was on Netflix.
I'll be at the same secret screening, and if it is Flight
we're
Risk,
going to walk out.
I'm going to stay.
You're going to stay?
I'll
no,
stay
David.
For Flight Risk, yeah.
I'm not going to stay for Flight Risk because... do you know why? Because this Friday...
don't like flying.
Well, there's that as well. But no, I'm going to go and see the Bob Chamelet film this Friday. a complete unknown. So the Timothy Chalamet Bob Dylan biopic. But also The Wolfman is out this week in the UK as we record this. And I really want to see that as well.
I might come with you to see that at some point.
Well,
but if you walk out
David,
of one, I'm not going to walk out of the shit film.
No, but that's what, if it is flight risk on the day in question, The Wolfman is on 40 minutes later.
I'll see it a different day.
I'm just going to go and see. No, I'm not asking you. I'm just telling the listeners and the viewers what I'm doing.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm also want to review Mufasa on that episode, which I was dragged along to, and it was a film that I saw. And that is...
that's just going to be your review.
If you look at the when you look at the WhatsApp group, David, it literally has 2 lines next to your name for what you was going to talk about in this episode. So one of them is filled in now, and that is that. And Jose is going to be talking Dune, Sisterhood of the Traveling Space Witches, and Silo Season 2, because I've just given up on it because it is bad. It's just bad. They ruined it, David. They ruined it.
I never watched it, Neil.
That's fine. Don't waste your time. Even if they have confirmed they're doing a 3rd and 4th series of it, no. It might bring me back, but it has to be good. We're also planning another spoiler special, and this one's going to be on Timothy Dillon or Bob Chalamet in A Complete Unknown, because me and Marie are going to see that soon. We're also going to be doing one
soon
on...
for me.
By the time this comes out, it would have passed. It'll have been out. We're also going to talk Anora, a spoiler special on that, and also we're going to do Black Doves. So that's going to be in the next spoiler special. And of course, David, you are hard at work scouring Rotten Tomatoes and Screen Rant right now for articles to torment us with our Valentine's Day episode, which is going to be on rom-coms.
Oh, yeah. Do you want a little taster?
Go on, give us one
Richard
sample
Curtis,
question. Yes.
famous rom-com writer, which was the one he directed.
Love Actually?
Oh, Neil with the point. Neil with the early points. Damn.
Can I carry that forward to the actual episode?
Because we'll need it. How we do on these quizzes.
Okay, well, that's what's coming up. I'd like to thank my 2 co-hosts today. Firstly, Marie. And Marie, where can people find you succumbing to the darkness of an unsustainable world on the socials?
Oh god, that is so accurate. You can find me underneath the handle Life on Mars, and if you want to know how to not succumb to the darkness in a sustainable world, you can also follow my sustainable podcast, 2 Girls, 1 Reusable Cup.
And I'd like to thank David, who I imagine, after seeing what is likely one of his films of the year already, are you going to go full Count Orlok, grow a dodgy tash, and then have an eternal slumber for around 100 years? David.
You know what? That tash was a little like fluffy. I could probably do it.
Don't.
I mean, I can't grow a beard.
I mean, no. Now I'm
patchy.
interested.
I'm not like a real man that can grow a beard, so I can only do.
See,
like,
this is just
fluffy...
laziness, David. This is laziness and cold. It's very cold in England right now.
I know. Well, in the video that we did, which people couldn't see, you looked like you were going to mug me.
Yes, because you kept moving the camera, so I was trying to get in frame.
There with your hoodie up, like.
Yeah. By the way, more parking lot reviews, please. That was very funny.
I mean, there could be I would have done one for Saturday night, but my car was so frozen that there was no light getting through. And I was like, I do not want to sit here and wait for the windscreen to go. Yes, you can, David, where can people find you on the socials?
They can find me at We Needed Roads on Instagram, and I'm also on Blue Sky because I've deleted my Twitter, and that is long.d. Blue Sky, which is my name again. It's long with 2 L's, if that helps.
It doesn't.
Long.d.
Oh dear. Long John Silver. Right, and you can find me at NeilG78 on Blue Sky, and I'm at Needed Roads on Twitter, because we're always going to call it Twitter. Fuck you, Elon. Fuck you, Elon. You absolute... Fuck you, Elon. You absolute fuckknuckle. And of course, we are now fully moved over to Spotify and YouTube. So give us a follow on those and subscribe on whatever platform you use, as you'll be able to see us and hear us. But also, leave us a comment on the episodes. Give us a review, because we really need them. Please, make it worthwhile. Give our lives meaning. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you didn't like. Request shows, and tell us what movies and shows you want to hear us talking about. Do all the things. We'll see you next time, folks.
We Needed Roads.